Good morning, everyone. I'm Julie Livingston, and I'm president of Want Leverage Communications, public relations, and LinkedIn consultancy. And this is my show, PR Patter, which I do on a semi-weekly basis. And I get to chat with the amazing people from across my public relations and marketing network. Today, I'm delighted to welcome my guest, Steve Guberman. Steve has over 25 years in the creative marketing, advertising, and public relations industry, including a decade spent running and eventually selling his own successful agency. Steve now channels his expertise into coaching PR agency owners. And so as the founder of Agency Outsight, I love that name, Steve. Steve helps owners unearth their challenges, define their goals, and conquer them all, enabling them to build and run the agency of their dreams. So welcome to the show, Steve. It's great to have you here today.
Good morning, Julie. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit more about your backstory, Steve, and maybe some of the agency experiences that you had before starting your business, where you're from, where you went to school, et cetera.
So I'm a New Jersey guy. I've been in the Garden State my whole life. Even went to school here. Went to William Patterson University for graphic design. My agency experience really lives on the kind of small agency side. I've never been with any of the big holding companies, even though New York's right across the river. I started right out of school in-house at Panasonic for a few years on their in-house brand team, and got trial by fire basically into branding and PR and corporate events and things like that. And then I jumped around to a few small agencies before starting my own agency. I guess it was about 20 years ago I started it. Now that I think about it. Yeah. We focused mostly on branding and websites, but we were somewhat generalists. And so when a client would say, "Can you do fill in the blank?" we would say, "We'll figure it out for you." And for a lot of years, as an owner-led agency, doing the sales and biz dev and things like that, it was often, Steve's the computer guy or Steve's the website guy. And so we'll just ask him to do anything technology related. Can you plug in a fax machine or, do, massive events for us or anything in between? So our range of services really kind of got out of hand for a while, but ultimately ended up selling it to a traditional PR firm here in New Jersey that we had collaborated on events and clients over the years and knew each other very well, and intertwined really well post acquisition. And I spent 5 years with them integrating creative services into their traditional PR services. So I left there after 5 years, and now I'm doing coaching for agencies of most shapes and sizes, but typically the smaller size agencies, sub 75 or so headcount.
That's great. Oh, what a great background you have. I love how you started in branding too, because I think that's so important for public relations agencies to get a grasp of, for whoever they do work with. So how do you help PR agency owners make their agencies more profitable and make them work for them?
It's such a wide range of challenges that owners face, but most owners, I'll say, are they hung up their own shingle for whatever circumstances led them to that, and thinking that they were going to be the practitioner of, I love working with clients, I love whether it's running media events or doing media tours or writing content. I can't say necessarily press releases as much anymore, but writing content and doing what they do to service their clients. And that's a very limiting ability to grow something. And so while I don't necessarily believe that every agency needs to be scaled or massive, I think they need to get better alignment on what they want their agency to do for them and what their vision of this business is, so they can get out of the day-to-day running of everything and be more of the visionary of what they want it to be. So a lot of that comes down to delegation and trusting their team.
That's probably the hardest thing in the world.
Oh, it's impossible. I mean,
Yeah.
we're borderline control freaks as creative professionals.
Yeah.
And I use the word creative professional for anybody that works in this industry, PR, advertising, branding, web, whatever. Creative applies all across the board. We are borderline control freaks. So delegating and then trusting the team, whether the team is freelancers, in-house, robots, AI, whatever, trusting that when you delegate, they're going to do the work that you want them to do, so that as the owner, you can focus on, bigger picture things. So it's really essential that owners get a good, clear vision on what they want their business to be, and then build a plan on how they're going to get there, and act strategically, and think big picture, and not small, day to day, month to month stuff.
That's great. So, what are the keys to setting goals that align with the owner's vision of what the business should be?
Yeah, so it's funny because I talk a lot about copycat goals, and I'm, victim of it as well. I see somebody on social media and they're like, if your business isn't making X amount per month, or if you're not living this lifestyle, or if you don't have this watch or whatever that thing is, I want that to be my goal. I want what they've got. And Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot, like, you see what they're posting, but you don't see what's in the background. You don't see what it took them to get there. You don't see, the misery of this or the chaos of that, or, whatever. And so for me, it's, we've got to shut out all the exterior stuff and really, do some visioning exercises, magic paintbrush exercises, and get a good, clear understanding of really what it is the owner wants their life to look like. Everything from the kind of clients they're working with, the amount of time they're working on their business, the balance they have between work and life, and forget about what everybody else is achieving or not achieving, and focus on what they want to happen in their life. And then reverse engineer that. And that's a massive, like, exercise. It's not just, a simple two word thing, but reverse engineer that into the daily activities that they need to execute on every day that they want to work. And I say that because there's people that, I don't want to work Fridays. I don't want to work Mondays.
Right.
I want to be at the beach or whatever.
All right. Everything is so
Be-
flexible now, right? You get to
Yeah.
carve out your own schedule.
Yeah. Build the business around what you want that to be. Like the toxicity of, well, if you're not working 60 hours, 70 hours a week in your PR agency, you're failing. That's such a horrible, horrible way to look at things. Um, Early on, I was talking about this just I think yesterday, the day before, with a friend, that, like, early on, there's no way I could have worked the schedule that I work now. I was so involved in every aspect of my business. Like, I was in it 60 hours a week, and I thrived off of that, and I loved it. I don't know that I could not work Fridays early on in my career when I was running my agency and that kind of thing. But I definitely wanted to be able to cut out and go to T-ball or go to my kids' school play or whatever. And so I was able to build the business with that kind of flexibility, and so that reverse engineering of, all right, if I want to make, for round numbers, let's say $1 million a year for my business, the daily activities of how many people I need to get in front of for my pipeline to look like that, or what kind of events do I need to go to, or how am I servicing my accounts. And so getting a clear picture on what they want their life to look like as it relates to this business. And I specifically say it like that, and so that life comes first, then business.
That's a whole
Yeah,
new way of looking at things.
it's so important. I think during COVID, we saw a shift of,
Yeah.
like, mindset, mental health prioritization, taking care of ourselves, shifting life balance. And I don't think that needs to stop. I think that needs to maintain as a high priority for anybody in our industry, or any industry for that matter. Like, life's too short to spend it, 80 hours a week, writing press releases, or doing design work or whatever. And so we only get a short time here. We may as well build the life we want and allow the business to support that.
Well, also, maybe you're not working smart.
Yeah.
Maybe you could work smarter to get more done in less time. Maybe you're not using the right resources or the right technology.
Yeah. You say smart. And so whenever I'm working with an owner on aligning their goals, we use the acronym of SMART, to define what those goals are. And it's really important not to just do, like, lofty, random goals like, oh, I want to make a lot of money. It's very vague. There's no time base to it. But we have to be specific. That we have to have measurable KPIs that says, all right, if I want to make $1 million, what do I need to get in the books this month or this quarter? What's my action plan?
Mhm.
And what's the time-based connection to when I'm going to make these things happen. So work smart, set smart goals. Yeah, I love the idea of work smarter, not harder.
It's not just a saying, it's really something to live by.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, whether that's leveraging your team or using technology to help advance things, I think it's really important that we prioritize that.
So, what talk about the blurred lines now between, because PR, we talk about PR agencies and what they do, but what they're doing is changing every single day. And there
Mhm.
really have become blurred lines between marketing and PR. I mean, PR sits under the marketing umbrella, but what a traditional public relations agency used to do is very different than what a PR agency today is doing.
Yeah. I've seen the evolution over the past 20 years that I've been working with PR folks in-house, PR agencies, um, and when I first started interacting with folks at PR agencies, I just didn't understand it. And so they would write a press release, they would send it to PR Wire or one of these outlets, and they would distribute it to the appropriate media outlets. And it didn't make a ton of sense to me until like I started to see the magic of how it worked, and they got placements and brands and products were excited. And so that was a piece of it. It was getting on shows. It was getting the right media attention. And I think there's so much value in that, but how that's evolved over the years is a, we've seen traditional media outlets consolidate. Many of them have gone away over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't even know if PR Wire or Newswire, like if those are still effective technologies any longer. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Well,
But
they have a somewhat different purpose today.
yeah, so agencies, specifically PR agencies, have needed to seriously adapt if they wanted to stay relevant. And so that adaptation can be, are they innovating in the kind of content they're building for their clients, not just press releases, media releases, articles, bylines, things like that. But are they creating other thought leadership opportunities? So I think marketing and PR have very much blurred, and they have to. Marketing is how do we get the word out about something without it being salesy, and getting it in people's faces without it being an advertisement, and making it seem presented by the media. And so that presentation by media, shifted into, or maybe it's always been, but shifted more heavily into thought leadership, blogging, articles, bylines on Forbes and outlets like that. Most of that is written, by somebody in a PR position for a lot of these brands. So I think the core nature of it is a good PR person is a great writer. They're a great account person. Those two things I think are essential. But the writing part has been extended now. It's into developing social media strategy and social
Yeah.
campaigns, and how does that all tie in? And I was introduced to the Peso model at the PR firm that I acquired my agency, and I've seen it evolve over the past few years. And I think the work that ties to the Peso model is really brilliant. But
I
just
actually
seeing
I
that,
had Ginny Dietrich on my show.
did you?
Yeah.
I would love to have a conversation with her. I think it's a brilliant model. I was blown away just when I was introduced to it, like how all these different areas work. And as an agency, we built that out and hung our hat on that pretty heavily. And but I think based on the brand, the audience, leveraging any one of those um, silos, or whatever you want to call it, of the model more heavily than another is really important to build strategy, for clients. And so I think agencies just need to lean into how do they innovate, how do they deliver, better results for their clients based on how the world is shifting and how people are absorbing content these days. And if you think about, and this might be kind of an off tangent rant, but sitting at a red light the other day, and I was looking around and I was thinking everybody's on their phone. And so when we're at a red light or in a shopping line, or we've got 30 seconds or 4 minutes or whatever it is to wait, we're opening an app and scrolling real quickly through something,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So marketing is how do I fit something into that scroll that people are looking at? And I think that shoehorns so beautifully with what PR teams are supposed to be doing to get their content in front of their clients' audiences.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm wondering also, like from your experience in working with agencies, are there things that you think that PR agencies are not so good at promoting? That they, is
Hmm.
there a service or area that you think they could be better at talking about? Something that they provide that gives the client extra value?
Honestly, I think as a general rule, most agencies are pretty horrible about talking about themselves. They'll crush it for their clients. They'll get that, innovative new stroller up on, the right morning show or the right placements on social media or the right influencer partnerships. They'll do that all day long, talking about themselves and the value that they bring to their clients and the services that they provide. We all kind of stink at that. The cobblers, kids don't wear shoes kind of
I
thing,
always say that about myself, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The worst thing I think any agency person wants to hear is, "Oh, we just hired so and so to do this service," and the agency says, "Oh, we do that," and the client says, "Oh, I didn't know." Right? So we're in an engagement and we're doing whatever. We've got monthly marketing, we're doing quarterly strategies, and we're delivering content. But oh, we just hired ABC Co to do videos for us because we didn't know you also did videos, or whatever that to redo our website because we didn't know you did that. And so I think agencies are just not great at promoting themselves, not great at extending services. Again, a really good account person is looking for those opportunities within the client to say, we noticed you have this one challenge or this one problem. Maybe it's in your product development or your delivery or your brand messaging or whatever that thing is. Can we talk through a solution that we can provide for you? And regularly presenting new ideas to their clients to stay relevant and stay front of mind and stay fresh and innovative. That's probably the biggest challenge that agencies face. It's not delivering for their clients. I think by and large they do really great with that. If they don't, obviously they're not going to be around for very long.
So how do you pull that messaging out of them? Like, what's your
Most
process?
I mean, I think a lot of agencies don't spend the time working on their business. If you think about how much time they dedicate
Yeah.
to working in their business for their clients, whether it's business development, or true delivery of the services that they're providing, whether it's again marketing strategy or the true content or whatever, the websites, whatever, they don't stop and say, "Hey, we're gonna spend the last week of the year between Christmas and New Year's focusing on." What is our core agency messaging or revitalizing our website or whatever, and whatever, maybe they close down for that week, pick another week, prioritize who you are and spending the time to revitalize it. And so it's Q4 now, so hopefully people are listening to this today and not in Q1, but now is the perfect time to take a step back and
Yeah.
spend the next few weeks or months before we hit into the next year and say, is what I've done this year what I wanted to accomplish? And if not, how do I show up differently in the marketplace? How do I carve out and own a niche or multiple niche, however you want to say it, and say, we are the PR marketing firm for consumer technology or for mompreneurs or whatever that space that you own. How do you really spend time thinking about how do we best show up there? I just don't think enough agency professionals spend time on their own marketing, their own brand voice, their own things that they do for their clients. They don't do it for themselves.
I'm taking
Um,
notes, Steve, as
yeah,
you're talking.
yeah. You
'Cause
you can listen to this back later,
it's
Julie. It's
really
fine.
resonating with me.
So I have a worksheet. It's a free download on my website under the resources page, and it is an annual. How do I describe it? It's a year in review and a year look ahead vision worksheet. And I'm taking some agency owners through this process now, where at the end of the year, it's the best time to take a look back at, did I accomplish what I wanted, and if not, what can I do differently next year to show up differently and to make a better impact in what I want to accomplish. What worked, what didn't work, break out some goals. But I think building out a marketing strategy and saying next year we're going to do it different, and not like, all right, New Year's resolution, I'm going to go to the gym and do that for a week, but like bring in your team, let them have some voice in who the
Yeah,
agency is and
because
how they show up.
they're on the front lines, right? They're building the
Yeah,
relationships on a daily basis with the clients. They kind of know
yeah,
a lot about what the clients are looking for or what they need. That
yeah.
that the agency's not offering it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, how do you innovate the service and the delivery that the agency is providing? And if it's always been this way, can it evolve and be something different so that you can show up for more people? I think it's so important to take a step back, stop doing client work, and just focus on agency work for a little while. Whether that's whatever, 2 Fridays a month, we're going to not do client work, or like build it into the actual production schedule of the agency. Treat yourself like a client.
Oh my God, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But as you say, we're control freaks, so it's hard to pull us away from getting
Yeah.
into the minutia of running the business, right?
I'll say that probably one of the most difficult creative projects I ever had was rebranding my agency. Um, I brought somebody in to do mission, vision, values. She did a great job guiding our team through it. We went offsite. We had a one, full day retreat somewhere. She guided us through, some really great discovery. And then I had our designer do a new visual identity for us. And we did new visual identities, I think 2 or 3 times that I had nothing to do with, in the decade that I ran the agency.
And how did
Um,
that feel though? Were you freaking
it
out
was
the whole
Oh, it
time?
was that's why I was the worst client. It was impossible. It was really difficult, but it wasn't about necessarily what I wanted. Like, sure, the agency, was mine, but my name necessarily wasn't on it. And so it wasn't, Guberman Creative. That'd be a horrible
Right.
name, but it was a name that as a team we all could embrace, and I didn't need to have my name tied to it. And so I trusted them to guide us through what I wanted the external perception of our agency to be. Who do we want to be seen as, not who do I think we should be? Because I'm not the smartest person in the room, and so trusting my team to really deliver on that, every time they crushed it.
It's great.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about keeping agencies and keeping up with new technology, especially around AI? And there's been a lot of discussion about should agencies disclose to clients that they're using AI tools? Like, what are your
hmm
thoughts about that?
It's mind blowing how AI is just everywhere. I was watching football Monday night, and I don't pay for ad free because I love commercials, and so I'm an ad guy, so I love commercials, and every commercial was about a new AI platform or a new marketing app, AI platform or whatever. It's just everywhere. It's in everything that we touch, and so it's unavoidable. Agencies over the past year or two that are afraid of it and not embracing it, I think, are going to really, really struggle if they're not already closed down. I think they need to embrace it for efficiencies and deliverability, but not to think for them. Like, use it as a tool. Instead of saying create, a photo of a woman on a mountainside holding this product, go do a photo shoot and then have the AI tool add in snowflakes or something like that to accentuate the core idea. Like, still let the humans do the core work, but use these tools to create efficiencies, as and embrace them. Like, they're not going away, but also they're not going to replace agencies. No, CMO somewhere is going to say, "Oh, fire all of our agencies. I'm just going to let ChatGPT do the job for them." It's just not
Right,
reality.
right. No.
So agencies need to be embracing it, but agencies, as far as back as we can remember, they've been looked to from clients to present new ideas and new innovations, and how can my product or brand show up better or differently. And so it's the responsibility of agencies, account teams, to say, "Hey, I want to sit down with you, client, and show you this new technology and how we can embrace it to improve what we're doing for you, or better deliverability, or better ad performance, or better response to PR campaigns or events or whatever." AI is the same as that, and so I think agencies need to embrace it. They need to test things out. They need to kick the tires because they're going to be embracing these technologies. Um,
And what about
as far
disclosure? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's tricky as far as transparency. There are definitely, I've seen some brand clients who have, very clearly said they don't want agencies using it. I
I mean,
don't
almost,
know.
the point is, how is that even possible at this point in time?
I don't think it is.
AI has
Yeah.
become such a, I mean, I use it to help me with writer's block and,
Mhm.
to do research all the time. How do you not even use it at this point?
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, it's in our emails and it's reminding us, hey, you should use this word instead of that word. Like that is a language model that's understanding how I type and how I respond to things. So I think from a content creation standpoint is really where they're coming from. Like we don't want you using a language model to create our strategy or to create our blog posts or imagery or videos or things like that. And from that standpoint, I can understand. I don't think that it means you can't create your first draft and run it through a system and have them refine it for you to take on a better brand voice or better tone, um, reduce duplications of ideas, things like that. Um, I do think it is important to be transparent, right? Because the assumption is you're going to be using it anyway,
Yeah.
and the biggest concern there is, well, if we can take what used to take 20 hours and do it in 4 hours, we're that much more profitable, and we can do that much more work. And so when a client knows that that's what's going on, are they going to push back on pricing?
Right. On budget.
And yeah, and it's likely that they will. And if an agency doesn't know how to handle that, they're likely going to lose money. But it's very easy to navigate. It takes a strong account person or leader to really push back, and it's kind of that old mindset of, "Oh, I could go fix my plumbing, but it'd take me 30 trips
Right.
for
Yeah.
the faucet, 30 trips to Home Depot in 20 hours, and I just don't know how to do it. I can call a guy and he'd come and whack it in the right place." And it's like, why am I paying you all this money? It's like years to know where to whack it in the right place, right? So, and that's the same idea with, if I can do it quicker, more efficiently with an AI tool, why would you pay me less? Well, it's because
Right.
we know how to use the tool. So I do think transparency is important for the relationship because we want those relationships to last a long time. But I think there's a fine line between what exactly are we using the tool for, how are we using it, and how we say we're using it. That I think agencies need to kind of navigate on their own.
So I'll talk about the importance of niching down in the agency world. Why does that matter?
Yeah, I think it's funny because when I had my agency, I fought it for a very long time. We wanted to be all things to all people. I didn't want to miss an opportunity if whatever the car dealership needed an ad or needed a brand or whatever, and we hadn't worked in that space before, and so I thought it was going to exclude us from a lot of opportunities. And when I finally took a risk and niched into 4 or 5 different vertical markets and said we are experts in these spaces, it really opened a lot of doors for us.
Really?
So, yeah, um, I don't think it's wrong to not niche down in a vertical market, but if you're not saying we own banking, consumer tech, and higher education, then it's important to say we only do websites or we only do branding for consumer products, or it's important to either be horizontal or vertically focused or some intersection of the two.
I mean, this is
Um,
something I've struggled with myself because I do traditional public relations, but I've
yeah,
developed a strong specialty on LinkedIn and raising executive visibility on the platform. So I'm sort of
yeah.
parlaying my PR skills on the LinkedIn platform.
Yeah, and that's a great way to leverage a technology as this is your horizontal space that you live in, and that can apply for executives in the nonprofit space, executives in the consumer tech space,
Yeah.
executives in fintech, like whatever it is, executives across the board. How do you leverage LinkedIn to elevate your status? And I think that that's a brilliant niche to own. I think it's a mindset thing. It's the scarcity versus abundance mindset of, if I don't claim a niche, then I can be all things to all people, and that's just not possible.
No, no.
You know,
I
the
agree
other
with you.
the other really strong benefit to owning multiple niches, I don't know how you say it, is I know how to focus my marketing, right? So I only work with agency owners, PR, creative, advertising. What I do would work for the guy that owns a dry cleaner or the lady that owns the, whatever business here in town, or any other business. It's the same core principles. My experience is in the agency space. I speak agency language. I understand the nuances, and I go to events where agency owners are. So I know how to focus my marketing efforts, the voice of what I'm talking about, my area of expertise. Whereas if I'm all things to all people, what events am I going to? How am I finding people? How am I speaking the language and really resonating with their core problems that they have to present a solution for? So it's the same kind of thing there. I also think in the PR space, it's so important to own verticals because the media outlets are so focused and so also niched
Yeah.
down that you need
Yeah.
those relationships are everything in the PR space.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, Steve, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me on this in this great conversation today. I learned a lot, and I'm sure others watching did too. How can people get in touch with you?
Julie, thanks so much for having me. This was really a pleasure. This was also my first LinkedIn Live.
Hey!
Um, Contact me on LinkedIn. If you just search Agency Coach, I'll pop up. My website has tons of valuable resources, including a podcast and free downloads. It's agencyoutside.com.
That's great. And for everyone else, if you like what you saw today, please go to my website at wantleverage.com and download Make Your C-Suite